Today, we are here to do the 3 keys to getting consistent coaching clients. So, if this is what you came from, you are definitely in the right place. So, how coaches can turn their skills into a business that works without cold DMing, without a huge audience, and without having to wait until you're ready. All right, so what we're going to cover, this workshop will go for about 90 minutes, and we're going to cover a few different things. So, what you've been told and why it's not working, the rule of one, and I'll explain what that is as we go along, the client conversion code, the consistent client flow, and how to implement it with all the right support. So if you stay with me till the end of the workshop, I'm going to show you that this is a complete operating system. It's not a tactic, it's not a hack, but it's actually a repeatable system that works. And it's how you get consistent paying coaching clients, even when you've been posting on social media every week and getting crickets and wondering why it's not working for you. You're a qualified coach, you're passionate, and you're genuinely good at what you're doing. And I'm going to show you for the next 90 minutes on how you can make this actually work. And it's a framework I call the Coach's Momentum Roadmap. And it's the same approach that I've been using with coaches that I are working with to help them go from stuck and inconsistent to clear, confident, and signing clients, and some even within 30 days. So even when you're hearing crickets. So what's going on in your head right now? These are some of the things that I hear coaches say every day. And I get it because the advice that you've been given is genuinely sound logic, but it's just not working. So I hear I'm posting on social media all the time, but it's not working. Because posting without a clear message is not a client strategy. I need a bigger audience before I can start signing clients. Well, that's just not true. Client conversations is not about audience size. I need to finish my website or work out what niche I'm going to use before I can make an offer. Both can be redefined because you already can work with clients, and a lot of you already are. I need to invest in more qualifications. This should be working by now. It's proof that you're serious by investing in these qualifications. But a qualification does not mean that it will send you clients, even though you've probably been told something different. Coaching skills and business skills are different, and that's what we're going to cover today. So, in the next 90 minutes, we're going to talk about the rule of one. And the surprising thing is that this is the reason why most coaches are not getting clients. And it has nothing to do with their skills and everything to do with what they are trying to say and how they're trying to say it. And then we're going to talk about the client conversion code, which is to do with the challenging the idea that you need to be on social media all the time to find clients. Because the easiest way to find clients are people that are already in your world, people that already know you. And I'm going to show you how to find them. And then the consistent client flow. And I've saved the best one for the last because this is how we bring the first two together and make it into a whole picture that's very clear and very doable. And stay with me to the end and I'll show you how it all fits together. And it is not a hack, it is not a tactic, but it's actually a repeatable system. So imagine this. You wake up in the morning, your favorite client, you know exactly what you're going to be doing today. They've booked into your calendar. You're not spending all day doom scrolling. You're not wondering what to post. No refreshing your inbox hoping that you've got a lead. And by lunchtime, you've done all your work. Not because you work less, but because you put every hour was pointed into something that actually moved your business. By the afternoon, you've got time for yourself, your family, your partner. And guess what? Friday really feels like Friday, not just another day of business where you're running around doing busy work. Your coaching business is working for you and the clients are flowing in and you love it. It's not a fantasy. This is what happens when you have a system and a system that runs well. You're not doing it with hustle and you don't have to cold DM strangers. You can do it without having to feel sleazy and salesy and waiting until you're completely ready. And you can have this today. I'm going to show you how. So, for those that have not met me yet, I'm Kathy Smith. I've spent the last 25 years in business and marketing and working with business owners and coaches throughout Australia, Canada, and the US. And for the last 4 years, I've been really specifically working with coaches. I have an ICF Associated Certificate Coaching Qualification, an ACC, and a CPM, which is a Certified Marketing Professional Certificate. I'm the host of Small Business Talk for Coaches that has over 350 episodes. And I'm also the author of the Coach's Marketing Roadmap. So I've done a little bit on business and marketing in the years. So I've learned about the fact that coaching and business is two different things. And that's where a lot of coaches go wrong. So I did it as well. When I started my coaching business, I thought that I would just implement the same marketing strategies that I'd been using for business owners when they were selling services and products. And selling myself, I soon learnt that it was quite a different thing. So sometimes it's just about tweaking your mindset just a little bit. And the first thing I want to tell you is it is not you. There is nothing wrong with you. It's not that you're not doing it right. Generally, it's about the formula that you've been handed. It's about what you've already been told. And it's not what is actually working. So I want to show you. So the reason that you're not getting consistent clients isn't because you're doing something wrong. And it isn't because you're not good enough. It isn't because your niche is quite too tight. But it's the formula that you've been handed. It's post more, build a bigger audience, get more credentials, and it doesn't account for the way that people actually buy coaching today. And this is why you are here on this workshop, so I can show you how you can fix it today. So we believe that most people believe that the business of coaching is the same as coaching. We're told that if we post on LinkedIn, create content on Instagram, build a bigger audience, and show up online, the clients will come. But coaching skills are different to business skills. Now, we've all been told, build it and they will come. But unfortunately, that only works in the movies. Even though it does sound like it should work, and on the surface, it sounds like it should be correct. Most coaches are not building a business. Just let you sit with that for just a second. You're not. And I'm going to tell you why. It's because the belief exists that content marketing is the way to do it. So post more, get out there more, create a bigger audience. Well, this works for big brands and it works for people that have a lot of money to spend on marketing. And it does sound logical, doesn't it? Being visible, being consistent, building trust with your content, and the clients will follow. And the coaching organizations that you were certified for might have already told you the same. And you might be seeing some of your peers doing the same. So you're believing that you're getting it wrong, but you're not. You're probably hiding behind your social media instead of talking to real people. Posting is not prospecting. Creating content is not having conversations. And building an audience on Instagram is not the same as building a client base. And that's quite often where a lot of coaches get it wrong. And that's why this belief exists. And it does work for big brands that have plenty of money to spread it out through social media. And they have these massive followings. So it does sound like it should work, doesn't it? But creating content is not having conversations. So think about it like this. If you opened a cafe on a quiet street and your entire marketing strategy was to write a beautiful menu and pin it to the window. Now it's a quiet street, so you might get a few people walk past, but most of those people are going to be on the busy street about a block away. Most of those people aren't going to see your amazing little cafe with your fantastic lattes, your great tea. They don't even know you're there. And we all know that that would not work. That would not be a great strategy for a cafe. However, that is mainly what coaches are doing. They're treating their social media the same. They post on their wall and they hope that somebody might stumble past. Somebody might come off that busy street and catch you in their feed. And we all know that with a cafe on a quiet street, that is not going to work. So, what does this mean for you? The coaches that are getting consistent clients, even early on in their business, they're not the ones with the biggest following. They're the ones with the most real conversations, generally with their existing networks, with people that already know them, with people that have already indicated that they want help and that you can help them. So instead of thinking, what should I post today? Start thinking about who should I talk to today? And once you start to see this, everything changes. Because now you're starting to think about what will actually make my coaching business work. And that shift is what makes the huge difference. So I'd like to introduce you to Anna. So all my case studies in this presentation are real people, but I've changed their names just to protect their privacy. So we're going to call this lovely lady Anna, and she's a perfect example. She had an audience, she had a database, and she had her qualifications. She'd been certified, but she was stuck on figuring out what it was to do when it came to marketing. She hated social media and she completely avoided it because she was worried about getting it wrong. And it wasn't moving the needle in her business at all. But once we started talking, I found out that she had this huge audience. She already had a database and we started to use that. She started having real conversations with real people and she filled her coaching program within a month. So when I first met her, she was stuck. She just didn't know what to do. She just left her contract coaching business and she wanted to restart her own coaching. And on paper, she was doing everything right. She had the audience, she had the database, she had the qualifications, she had years of coaching skills, but she just didn't know how to attract clients to her personal coaching business. And she thought that creating video was going to be the way to go. But when she thought about that, it made her physically sick. She just did not want to do it. But that's what she saw everybody online doing. And she thought that was the only way she was going to be able to market her business. And she just avoided it because it was the only version of marketing that she'd heard of and knew. And she just knew it was not going to work for her. So what we did was simple. We took the pressure off. We stopped trying to force her into a marketing approach that made her want to run and hide and dive under the desk and made her feel physically sick. And we looked at what she already had. We got clear on what it was that she wanted to offer, and it was a small group coaching program. So we went out to her existing database, that warm prospects, that we focused on one simple thing to begin with, reconnecting with real people, using just one simple email. Hey, guess what I'm doing now? And that's where it all began. No complicated funnels, no cold DMing to strangers, no big launch strategy, just real conversations with real people that already knew her and trusted her. And her program was full. Within 30 days, she filled her program. She was able to restart her coaching business. And she even had a wait list. Wouldn't that be great? So, Anna is not a unique story. Let me tell you about Sally. She had just finished her coaching training, and we worked through a process of setting up her own business. She described working with me as truly transformational, helping her to deepen her self-awareness and not just to take the first step, but know where to go, have a roadmap so that she knew every step after it. She went on to achieve her ACC certification, something that she doubted that she was even going to be able to do. She didn't even think she was going to finish her qualifications, let alone go on and get another one. Let me tell you about Sarah, another client. She came to me at the end of her coaching training with the goal of moving through her limiting beliefs and her interferences. She described the experience as one where we collaborated, we partnered, and I challenged and supported her in exactly the way she needed. She went from being uncertain to knowing what her next step was and having a clear roadmap to move forward with confidence. She rebuilt everything with confidence. And these ladies, they are great coaches, but they're not special cases. When they had the right framework applied in the right sequence for their business in a way that suited them, it was perfect. They knew where they needed to go. And that's what I'm going to teach you about today. Are you ready? Let's go. Okay, so the first thing is the rule of one. One audience, one problem, one solution. And specificity actually unlocks clients. You might think it's going to be the other way around. You might think that this is about a bit counterintuitive, but it's not. So 3 steps to getting laser clear. And then I'm going to tell you a little bit more about Anna's story. So what is the rule of one? One of my favourite sayings is when you try to talk to everybody, you end up talking to nobody. We've all seen that vanilla marketing that you just keep scrolling past because you go, that's not for me. But when you apply the rule of one, that all goes away. It's one audience, one problem with one clear solution. And you give them one next step and invite them to take it. So when you start getting this really clear, you try to appeal to every possible audience? No. You just get it down to one person. And speaking to one person is so much less daunting than trying to speak to everybody. So let me tell you a little story. So there was a boy who went to stay with his grandfather, and they went out on a picnic to a lake. And they had some amazing food, and then the boy was thirsty. He said to grandfather, "Can I please have some cordial?" And the grandfather said, "Yes, of course." So they got the cordial bottle and they tipped it into a glass. And then the grandfather says, "Now you need to add water. Why don't you go down to the lake, put it in the lake, and then you'll have a lot of cordial. You'll have heaps." So the boy thought, bit strange, but yeah, why not? So he did. So he tipped his cordial into the lake, scooped it back up, and then took a big sip. This is going to be amazing. And guess what? It wasn't. It just tasted like lake water. So he stomped back up to Granddad and said, "Hey, that didn't work. That was awful." He said, "Okay, well, let's try it again. Let's put the cordial in the glass and let's just put a small amount of water in it." So they did. This time he only took a little sip because he was a bit worried about what Grandad was doing here. So he took a little sip, and of course the cordial was amazing. It was just the right amount because it wasn't diluted. It was concentrated to the right amount. And that's what we quite often do as coaches. We take our cordial down to the lake. We want to spread it out so that we have a bigger following. But what ends up happening, exactly the same as the grandson, is it gets so diluted that nobody knows what you're talking about at all. So remember, one audience, one problem, one clear solution, and one next step. So you might be wondering, why is it different? Well, the conventional advice for coaches you receive is to cast that wide net, to create content for everybody. But what actually happens is successful coaches know exactly who they're talking to. Because the approach of trying to cast your wide net, it just doesn't work. You end up exhausted and nobody ends up knowing what you're actually talking about. Your feed ends up full of posts that nobody reads because they don't think it's for them. And you've probably tried this. You've probably tried tweaking your bio, creating a different message, and you still feel like you're shouting into the void. The problem wasn't the content. The content just wasn't speaking clearly to anybody. Not one specific person, not anybody. And it didn't make it like I really need to act on that. It was just, yeah, that's all right. And then you move on. So speaking to everybody and niching down. That's what niche down later. That's what we're quite often told. Generic content that attracts nobody specifically. Multiple offers to multiple avatars, and you end up feel like you're just running around in circles. And hope and pray that the right client might find you. But the rule of one gives you a new way to do it, and it changes everything because the message lands. When you talk to the right person and they read it, they think, yes, that's for me. I mean, you've seen it, you've heard it. You probably saw this when you came across this workshop. You go, oh, I wonder what she wants to say because it's hitting that one person and you are the one person. So when you write specifically for the one person, it starts to land. And it's not about trying to be a big brand unless you're getting there. Because what happens is that talking to everybody is so far down the line from now. It's not how you're going to get your next client or your next 10 clients. So define your one audience from day one. Makes it so much easier. It also helps to stop that overwhelm because you're only talking to one person. Your specific message that really stops that right person scrolling, and you know exactly that that message is for you. So, one clear offer with one clear next step. It's so annoying when you think, yeah, I actually want to have a look at that or find something, and they've given you 15 things to do. You get so overwhelmed that 9 times out of 10, you won't do anything. And that's probably how your clients are feeling too. And it makes it possible for your people not to miss it. They know that it is exactly for them. So define your one audience. So you could say, I talk to coaches. Yeah, that's not really defined, is it? Or you could say, I want to talk to women, or I want to talk to people in a certain geographical area. But that is not defined. So you need to just specify one type of coach if you're talking to coaches, one type of women, one type of people in that area. So with one specific problem. So I could say, I speak to new coaches that have been certified and don't know how to get clients. Now that's getting specific. So you either say, yes, I'm a new coach and that's me, or you say, no, I'm not. Or I could say, I speak to established coaches who have a business that is stalled and they can't get consistency. But you pick one audience. You have that specific audience, and that's how your message gets stronger. Vague audience equals vague messaging, and that equals no clients. And that's not what we want, is it? So pick one group that you want to work with right now. And you might be saying, but that's going to cut everybody out. But I like to think of it like a dartboard. If you're aiming for the middle of the dartboard and you miss, you're going to hit a little bit further out in the dartboard. But if you aim for the outside, there's very little chance of you hitting the middle of the dartboard, is there? So clarity on who you serve is the foundation of everything else that can be built on. So name their core problem. So if you think of Facebook, Facebook has world domination now, but it's not how they started. They started with a few mates in one dormitory on one campus in America. And then they went to the whole of the campus. And then they went to other campuses of that university. And then they expanded out into other universities. And then they hit world domination. But they were just solving one problem for their mates, and then they spread it out from there. They didn't list a whole pile of things that they wanted to do from day one. And that's where we quite often go wrong because as coaches, we have amazingly big hearts and we want to help everybody. But if we narrow it down to name that one core problem that our one audience has, not a list of 5, not a shopping list, but just that one problem and how we can solve it. And that is how you change your marketing to make it so it's much easier and something that you can do. So for most coaches in the situation, they you could say the problem is they don't know how to turn their skills into and qualifications into paying clients. Now that's a specific problem. And anything else from there flows down from that problem. The content confusion, the website anxiety, the niche paralyzation, all of those problems are downstream from that one problem of they don't know how to turn their skills and qualifications into paying clients. So you hit that one problem. But you might be thinking the big coaches out there don't do that. Well, actually, they did start there. Tony Robbins started with NLP coaching. Brendan Burchard started with executive leadership coaching. And Brooke Castellio started with weight loss. Yes, they all do general coaching now, but it's not how they started. They started with one target audience, with one specific problem, and how they could solve it. So name it clearly, and your audience will feel seen. So, one problem that your audience lies awake at night thinking about. So, what is that for your audience? So, when your audience reads your messages, they will think, that is me. And that's how you get their attention. So, thinking about the offer, one clear offer to solve the solution so that you can give them one clear step to take. Your offer doesn't have to become complicated. In fact, the simpler it is, generally the easier it is to understand. And your next step shouldn't be elaborate because then that just makes it hard for people. So, the one thing that you help them with, one invitation to take that next step. That is the key. So whether it's a discovery call, a workshop, a simple message, one door, not 11, not different options, not possibilities, just one option. A confused mind never buys. Donald Miller from StoryBrand has been telling us that for most of his career. So one invitation to take that next step. One offer, one next step, clear and repeatable. And the simpler the next step is, the easier it is for the right person to say yes. So when Anna and I got together and we got clear on her rule of one, the confusion cleared almost immediately. She stopped trying to create content for every possible type of coaching client, and she started speaking directly to one group of her people that were already in her database. The rule of one didn't limit her, it unlocked her. So one message with clear connection to those people, it just became simple. And within a month, she had filled her coaching program. So 30 days and a waitlist with zero cold DMing. So the client conversion code, it's the core insights of how clients who easily can sign with you and they know exactly what you're talking about. It's a simple framework of having real conversations with real people who already have some kind of relationship with you. Often they might have worked with you. And this is how you turn these conversations into paying clients without being pushy, without being salesy, and without having to run complicated marketing strategies that make you just want to hide under the doona all day. Most coaches are so focused on finding new people that they completely overlook the warm opportunities that are already sitting in their databases, the existing clients and their professional networks. I call it the gym strategy. Have you ever been to a gym where they don't treat their existing clients very well, do they? They're always looking for new clients all the time. Sign up and I'll give you cheap this. Sign up and you'll get extra that. But we need to be thinking about our loyal clients, our existing networks, the people that already know us. And the easiest way to get clients are people that are already in your world. And why cold outreach doesn't convert? The 3 pillars to warm prosperity marketing, and learn more about Anna's story. So, what is the client conversation code? It's the approach that most coaches are told when they're going out onto cold outreach. We're told that we should be doing cold DMing. We should be following up strangers. We should be commenting on other people's posts and hoping that they might notice us. And I'm sure you've already tried that already, and it doesn't work. You've heard that cold DMing works, and you get this script and it just feels irky. You've been running sequences or tactics and it's just not working for you. But it's not converting to clients either, isn't it? And it just doesn't feel like you. So the problem is not that cold outreach isn't an execution. It is, and it can work for some people. And you've probably heard of one or two that it does. But when it doesn't work for you, you're worried that you're doing it wrong. You just simply haven't built enough trust for the in one cold DM message. And the client conversation code works differently. It starts with people that you already know. You've already built some kind of trust because they're in your database, they're in your professional contacts. They're people that you've interacted with you. They might have attended your event. They might have listened to your podcast. They might have done some work with you previously. These conversations feel more natural because they are. And you're not cold DMing strangers. You're reconnecting with people that have already seen you and they already trust you. So the clients who sign the easiest already know you. Real conversations with real people in the real world without having to do cold DMing, feeling icky, and hustling. The client conversation code gives you a simple framework, identifies those warm prospects, and allows you to reach out and have conversations. So, why is it different? So, the cold outreach approach: message strangers you do not know. Well, that doesn't feel good, does it? Build trust and they will comment the same back on your messages. Often that doesn't work either. Cold DMing scripts that just leave you feeling irky and don't convert. Chasing new people until the warm ones wait. And as I mentioned, bit like the gym scenario where we're not looking at the gold we've already got. Now, what is the conversation code and how is it different? So we reconnect with people that already trust us. Trust is already there, so it's a great place to start with our conversations. It's natural and it's genuine and it does open those conversations. And we work with our existing database first to untap that gold that is sitting there that we're just not using. So the first thing that we look at is the warm prospect sorting. So we go through our existing database and contacts and sort them into 3 groups. So group A are the people that have directly expressed interest in our coaching or a specific topic. Then group B are people that are in our target audience that have stayed engaged over time or have started to follow us. And then group C is everybody else. So we start with group A because they're more likely to be the warmest prospects. And some of those people are even hot. They're just waiting for you to give them that offer, to ask them to take that next step. And then we move to group B. So we sort first, outreach second, always. And we don't waste too much energy on group C because there's a lot in group A and B, so we need to go there first. A warm list that already knows your most valuable business asset. Most coaches are just not doing it. They're never using it and they're never reaching out to people, quite often who have already put their hand up. So then we look at the reconnection message, and that's what Anna used. A simple, genuine message that says, hey, This is what I'm doing now. And especially if you pivoted or you're changing what you're doing. I just thought of you. There's no pitch. It's not a template. It's not a long explanation. It's just a warm personal note that opens up conversations. I call it the email ATM system, and it's what I use with my clients to create simple and repeatable messages that don't feel like sleazy campaigns. So, warm, personal messages that are simple and it's one message at a time. And when you reconnect like a human being, people respond like human beings. And we're human beings, aren't we? We're not human doings. The client conversion code. So, having those conversations is really important. So, once the conversation is open, your job is to listen and ask questions. This is what we're taught as coaches, and find out how you can solve their problem. Is it the right problem for you? Are they the right clients for you? And if that's the case, then you make an offer. And if they don't have the problem that you're solving, then you stay in relationship with them. You might give them a referral. You might give them some things to nurture them, to bring them along to where they will be the right people for you. But most coaches overcomplicate this stage. It's not a huge sales pitch. It's a genuine conversation with a clear purpose. So you listen, you ask, you offer. And if it's a right fit, then you move forward. So thinking about it as if it is a coaching conversation, because we do that in coaching, don't we? We listen, but when it gets to sales and marketing, then we start going a little bit irky and we forget about using our coaching skills. So the client conversation is not about sales. It's about service. And when you approach it, it stops to starting to feel so scary. You start to lose that icky and you're just having a conversation. Can you help this person? Are they the right people to bring into your world? And if the answer is yes, then you go forward. If it's not, then there's many other ways that you can help them. So when Anna stopped trying to reach out to all the strangers, the client acquisition stopped being a mystery. She was able to reach out to her people and get those clients. So instead of trying to build a new audience from scratch, she just sent out a simple email to her existing database and reconnected with the people that already knew her. Real people, real conversations, no cold DMing, no complicated funnels, no spending hours talking herself into doing social media or redoing her LinkedIn profile, which really just looked like it was back in the days when it was just recruiting, because she didn't even have anything about her new coaching business on there, because she just hated social media in every way, shape, and form. And she just tried to keep running away from it, which is why she got so stuck. But once we got her clear on what she was doing, her program was full within a month. And when she stopped trying to just reach everybody and people that didn't know her and start having better conversations with people that were already in her world, that's when coaching got fun. That's when business got fun. And that's when she filled her program. So the program full and proof that warm beats cold every day. And it is just so much easier and so much simpler. So the consistent client flow system. So consistency without having to do everything. Why random acts of marketing fail. 3 steps to a repeatable weekly system. And I'm going to introduce you to Sarah and tell you a bit more about her story. So, what is the consistent client flow system? It's about your audience, making sure that you are talking to them regularly. So, consistency in your business is not about doing more. It's just about doing the right things on repeat. So, the consistent client flow system is a simple set of weekly actions done consistently to create that steady flow of conversations, leads, and clients without you having to burn out, without you having to hustle, without you having to do everything to everybody, and without you depending on a single channel to perform. Most coaches are inconsistent, not because they lack discipline, but because they're not really sure what to do. They're hearing all these different things, jumping on the shiny objects. This thing works for this person, so I need to do it. This thing, oh no, which one do I do? I'm sure you've been there. Too many things without a clear system to guide you is what ends up spending your week being just so busy, and by the end of the week, you're burnt out and you haven't got any more clients. So consistency doesn't require you to do more. It just requires you doing the right thing on repeat. A small number of weekly actions to create that steady stream of conversations, leads, and clients. That is a consistent client flow, and it gives you clearly defined actions to do each week. So random acts of marketing don't really work, do they? Whatever you feel that you have to do urgent in the day, you start by opening your email list and email account in the morning, and you've got all these things pinging at you, and that's what you think you should be doing. You're being busy, you're not building a business. And there's no way of knowing what's actually working or what's not. So you end up binging on business content, looking for strategies that you hope will finally work. A new platform, a new formula, a new hook technique. You wake up and check your phone to see what everybody else is posting. And should you be doing something similar? What you'd had planned, are you going to do that? Or are you just going to jump on this new thing? That's where we get stuck. And by the end of the week, you are so busy doing business that you haven't actually created that business. And then you start over again. And that is when your motivation dips and it just becomes that constant treadmill, doesn't it? So it feels like working consistently without seeing a client flow. And it just is really difficult, but it doesn't have to be. So the consistent client flow is defined weekly schedule. So the same actions every week. Each action directly connects to client opportunities. And 3 numbers that we review every Friday and tell you everything. And the system runs even when your confidence hasn't fully arrived. So your weekly connection blocks. So once a week, you spend a defined block of time, 30 to 60 minutes, on an intentional outreach, reaching out to those warm prospects, following up on your open conversations, and connecting with your referral partners. No scrolling, no creating, just genuine, direct connections with real people that could become your clients or could refer you to clients. And it's blocked in your calendar so you know what you're going to be doing every week. Connection before content. That's how it works. So your visibility asset. So once a week, you put something out into the world that demonstrates your thinking and your expertise. It could be a podcast episode, could be a LinkedIn post, a short video, a newsletter. The format doesn't matter. What is important is the consistency. And it's written for one audience. It's not written for everybody. And did you know that you can repurpose your content? Because only 1.5 to 6% of your followers will see your content. That is why Facebook is forever hounding you with things that you're seeing over and over and over. And people forget your content within 24 hours up to 42 days. And with the sales cycle now, depending on who you listen to, they say you need 7 to 20 touch points. Now, that can seem a lot, and sometimes it is. Sometimes it can be really condensed, it can be really quick. So, they used to say if you had the attention span of a goldfish, that it was an insult. Nowadays, it's actually a compliment because we are getting so many messages, so many things. And you've probably seen it and heard it yourself. People have said, "Oh, I put this on Facebook. Did you see it?" And you go, "No," because Facebook, it sends out so many messages. And quite often we get sick of our own content, but people need to see it over again so we can repurpose things. We don't have to create everything from scratch all the time. So, one piece of content, one audience, once a week. You can make a lot out of that. You use your one pillar of content in many different ways. And that's where your visibility compounds. So, if you think about it, if you had 52 pieces of social proof, of proof that you knew what you were talking about, that you were the expert, and that was done in a really specific way, it would make your life a lot easier. And then we look at the weekly review. So every Friday, we spend 15 minutes reviewing your three numbers. How many conversations did you start this week? How many people progressed through from conversation to consultation? How many consultations did you book this week? These three numbers tell you everything that you need to know: where your system's working, where it's breaking, where it needs tweaking, and what we need to do to fix it. Three numbers every Friday, and it only takes 15 minutes. What gets measured gets managed. What gets managed gets you clients. So let me tell you more about Sarah. So when Sarah came to me, she'd just completed her training. She was unsure about what her next steps were. She was wrestling with self-doubt and limiting beliefs. She didn't know how she was going to build this business. She didn't know how all this money that she'd spent on her qualifications was actually going to get her ahead. And what she described most about working with me was that I didn't give her tactics or strategies. It was the process that deepened her self-awareness, her understanding of her blocks, and what actions to take in what sequence, step by step, until she had the evidence that she could do this and her confidence started to build. It is what the consistent system does. It gives you the structure to move forward, even when your confidence hasn't fully arrived yet. And as the actions accumulate, your confidence will follow. So we built out her weekly system step by step, and she took the actions in sequence, and it started to accumulate. The evidence started to build, and her confidence followed, not the other way around. Clarity, direction, and confidence. That's what builds consistent action. So, three keys. One system, but the order really matters. So, if you start with a rule of one, that gets you clear. But without it, everything else you say is scattered and nothing lands because you have no target. So, the rule of one, that's how you get clear. The client conversion code, it's getting you to talk to real people. Without the clarity of who you're talking to, then your conversations just go in circles because you don't know what it is that you're offering or who you want to talk to. So that gets you talking. And the consistent client flow system, it keeps you moving. Without the conversations of step number 2, or without knowing who you're talking to, then nothing flows. And the system has to run in a specific order or it doesn't work. And that's how you make it work in the correct order. 1, 2, 3. So get you clear, get you talking, and then keep you moving. And that is the coach's momentum roadmap. So it's not about working harder. It's about working with a system that actually works. It's getting those things in the right order. The rule of 1, the client conversion code, and then the consistent client flow. And building a 3-month momentum plan that finally makes it work. And that's how we get it to all work in the right order. So before we go any further, I'd just like to say that I believe that you can build this coaching business, a coaching business that's really going to work. You already have the skills and you deeply care about your clients and you have something really valuable to offer. But what you're missing is not another qualification. It's not ability, but it's a clear business system that supports the actions that you need to do consistently. And they can be learnt, and I can teach you. So you already have those coaching skills. And as I mentioned, a clear business system that supports you into action is what's going to make the difference. So let's have a little bit of a recap. So the first thing we looked at was the rule of 1. 1 audience, 1 problem, 1 clear solution. This gives the message that gets to the right people immediately. So the second thing we talked about was the client conversation code. This helps you identify those warm prospects that are already in your world and reconnect with them to have real conversations. And then the consistent client flow. And this is what gives you the weekly structure to keep those conversations happening without having to do everything. So these are not separate marketing tactics. It's one system that works together so that you know what's happening. You know what the next question is and how to put it all into action. So over the last 60 minutes or so, what's been the most useful thing for you so far? Pop it in the chat if you like. Can you see yourself putting this into action? Can you see how the path works? So you can do this alone. You've got the skills to do it. And I believe that what you've learnt today, you could implement yourself. But I want to make it clear, you don't have to do it alone, but you are capable. So that's not the question. So some people work really well independently. Other people, they need clearer decisions. They need to move ahead quickly to stay consistent. And they need to have some support, to have some guidance and some accountability. Now, it doesn't matter which one you choose, but the thing is that you need to be moving forward. So what kind of support will help you follow through with this? So basically, you've got 2 parts. You've got everything that you need to know to understand the 3 keys and the information for you to begin. The question now is not about the information. It's about taking today's frameworks and applying it. It's about creating your own rule of one and reconnecting to running messages and having a weekly system and testing and adjusting your approach as you go ahead. And about finding your own answers if you're unsure. And creating our own structure to stay focused in accountability. That's the DIY path. Or you can implement it with support. You can have personal guidance to apply these frameworks into your business. You can have a clear process that's already proven and you know what to do in what order. And you can be ready with templates, tools, and conversation prompts so that you don't have to start from scratch. And you can have weekly accountability to keep you on track. You can have direct support from me when you feel stuck or you're unsure. So you don't have to do this alone. You don't have to figure it out every step of the way. And that's the implement with support, or the second path you can take. So that's the coach's marketing roadmap. So let me tell you a bit more about it. So if you want to implement this support and it sounds like the right path for you, then the coach's marketing roadmap might be the way to go. It's a 3-month business coaching and implementation program, which is specifically designed for qualified coaches who are ready to build a business that works for them without the hustle, without the second guessing, and without getting into shiny object syndrome. It brings the 3 keys together with a clear structure that gives you personal guidance, practical tools, honest feedback, accountability, and how to apply it to your specific needs in your business. So it has 4 components: clarity, conversations, flow, and momentum, to make sure that you don't get stuck on any step. So what's included? So we begin with the momentum gap audit. So before we build anything, we need to have a look at what you've already been doing, what you've tried and's worked, what you've tried and hasn't, what's actually slowing your momentum down. And this gives us a clear starting point of where to focus. Then the next thing is to build out your personal rule of one, your messaging. That's where we start. And then the client conversion code, the implementation, the warm prospect sorting, the reconnection templates, and the conversation framework. Then the consistent client flow. We set up that simple weekly routine so that it works for you and you can maintain it. And you have direct access to me, honest feedback when you're stuck or unsure. And weekly accountability check-ins to keep you on action and so that when you get in your own head, we can help you get through that. So making sure that you know what to prioritize, you know where to go, you know what you need to be doing next, and recognize what is working and address anything that's helping you to get a bit stuck or lose momentum. So we start with clarity. So that is the momentum gap audit and the rule of one. And then we go on to conversations. So the client conversion code and the warm prospect outreach. And then the flow, the consistent client flow, the system that runs for you and helps you to sign those clients. And then momentum, the system is locked in, refined, and now you have a roadmap for scale. So you become the kind of coach that backs yourself. You take action before everything feels ready. You show up for your business every week with clear focus instead of a long to-do list, a shopping list that you just want to avoid. So you stop second guessing your offer, tweaking your niche endlessly, and waiting for the right moment. You start to trust your own judgment, saying yes to these conversations that previously you might have run and hid. You're building a business that works for you on your terms, without hustle, without cold DMing, and without pretending to be somebody online that you're not. You become that successful coach that you dreamt of, that business owner, not someday, but during the program. So let me tell you who it's not. This program is not for everybody. It's not for somebody looking for a quick fix or a 30-day shortcut. This program is a 3-month consistent, and you need to put the work in. It's not for somebody who's isn't ready to make this a priority over the next 3 months, who'll only show up when it's convenient and doesn't want to do the work. And it's not for somebody that wants to keep doing exactly what they're doing and hope that there's a different result. So we know what Confucius says, don't we? That if we keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting to get a different outcome, well, you know the rest. So the whole point is that we need to change. So there's no judgment, but the call won't be useful for either of us. So before I show you today's bonuses, I just want to bring you back to what is possible. So Anna had just left her contracting coaching agreement. She had an audience, she had a database, and she had her qualifications, but she just couldn't figure out how to turn that into a business. It wasn't that she didn't have the coaching skills, she just lacked the business skills. So within 1 month of working together, her program was full and she had a wait list. And Sally, she had just finished her coaching training and was wrestling with her limiting beliefs and her uncertainty about the next steps. But by the end of working together, she explained our experience as truly transformational. She achieved her ACC and she now has a thriving business. And these people aren't outliers. This is the standard type of outcome that we can create when we create it together, when we implement the system properly with the right support. So did you know that 75% of coaches have to get another job or another way to support themselves because they're just not getting the training about the business skills? They're amazing coaches, but they start to doubt themselves because they don't have those business skills. And the Coaches Momentum program, Coaches Momentum Roadmap is a way to fix that so that you can finally become the coach that you've always dreamt of and have a full program with a wait list and without having to cold DM. So for attending, I would like to offer you a complimentary Coaches Momentum call. So during this call, we're going to discuss what your business is doing today, where it's at, and whether the Coaches Momentum Roadmap is the right step for you. There's no obligation. The purpose of this call is to determine whether you're a right fit. And it's not a pushy sales call. It's just about getting clarity on your personal situation. And then the second bonus is the email ATM system template. So when you book your call within 48 hours, I'm going to give you the template. It's the reconnection emails and the conversation prompts that Anna used to fill her program. So let's see what happens on the call. So it's not a high pressure sales pitch. It's a 45-minute Zoom, and I'm going to ask you about your coaching business, what you've tried, what's worked, what hasn't. And we will look at what kind of support you need. So the purpose of the call is to work out whether it's a right fit, whether it's going to work for you. So there's three things that are going to happen. We're going to look at where your business is now, where you want your business to go, and whether you're the right fit. So a focused conversation of whether we fit together or not. At the end of the call, you're going to know whether that's going to work for you. I'll walk you through what the program is and the support that you'll receive, and we'll decide if we're going to work together. No pressure, no obligations, just an honest conversation. And if it's not right for you, then I'll give you some other resources, and that will be the end of that. So if you would like to book this call, now I know that looks like a really weird number for Australia, but it does work because unfortunately our Australian numbers don't work in America. So I'm running a cohort that will start on the 31st of August. Probably won't run another one until next year. So I've got a limited number of spots. 5 spots are available for the Coaches Momentum call. So book that. It's for qualified coaches that are serious about building their coaching business and they want to work on it within the next 3 months. So if you're open to investing in the right support and we both agree that the Coaches Momentum Roadmap is the next step, then that's where we'll go. If this sounds like where you need help, so book your call. And I'll personally reply back to you within 24 hours to give you a calendar link. So this is the end of our workshop today. So I'd love to know what has been the most valuable takeaway for you today. So if you'd like to share that in the chat, that'd be great. All right, for those of you who are watching the replay, reach out, text momentum to that number. So it is 1650 539 6954, and I look forward to talking to you.